On the morning of Tuesday, September 11, 2001, at 7:59 a.m. Eastern Time, American Airlines Flight 11 took off from Logan International Airport in Boston. Exactly 15 minutes into the flight, 5 hijackers armed with box cutters stormed the cockpit. Their leader, Mohamed Atta, pointed the Boeing 767 south toward Manhattan. At 8:46 a.m., he flew the aircraft into the North Tower of the World Trade Center, between the 93rd and 99th floors. The impact killed everyone aboard instantly and trapped hundreds of others above a massive wall of fire on the upper floors of New York's tallest building. 18 minutes later, United Airlines Flight 175, another hijacked Boeing 767, crashed into the South Tower between the 77th and 85th floors. Because cameras were already fixed on the North Tower, this second collision was captured live on television for the world to see. At 9:37 a.m., the attack expanded to the nation's capital as American Airlines Flight 77 hit the western side of the Pentagon. A fourth aircraft, United Airlines Flight 93, crashed into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania at 10:03 a.m. Its passengers had learned of the other attacks via telephone and staged a revolt against their captors, preventing the plane from reaching its intended target, the U.S. Capitol or the White House. In less than 80 minutes, a coordinated airborne assault had completely bypassed the domestic security of the United States. The structural damage and intense heat proved insurmountable. The South Tower collapsed at 9:59 a.m., followed by the North Tower at 10:28 a.m. The final death toll reached 2,977 people from 93 different countries. This figure accounts for the victims alone, excluding the 19 hijackers responsible for the mission. The casualties included 403 first responders, 343 firefighters, 23 police officers, and 37 Port Authority officers who had rushed into the buildings to evacuate civilians. The scale of the loss made this the deadliest terrorist attack in human history and the most lethal strike on American soil since the bombing of Pearl Harbor. The operation was planned and executed by Al-Qaeda, the extremist organization founded by Osama bin Laden, who provided the money and logistical support for the mission. The core concept, using commercial aircraft as guided weapons, was proposed to bin Laden in 1996 by a Pakistani operative named Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Investigations later focused on the Hamburg cell, a group of radicals living in Germany who traveled to Afghanistan for training. One of them, Mohamed Atta, was chosen as the operational ringleader. The planning was meticulous. The hijackers selected fully fueled transcontinental flights to maximize the explosive potential of the impact. They even conducted surveillance flights on the same aircraft types, timing the patterns of cockpit access from first class. The attackers successfully converted the open, predictable systems of American commercial travel into the very mechanics of their weapon. In 2004, the 9/11 Commission report documented the systemic breakdowns within the U.S. intelligence community that allowed the plot to proceed. The CIA had identified 2 of the hijackers, Khalid al-Miqdar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, as al-Qaeda operatives as early as January 2000. While the agency tracked them to the United States, it failed to pass that information to the FBI. On August 6, 2001, President Bush received a daily briefing stating that bin Laden was determined to strike inside the U.S. No tactical actions were taken. The tragedy was not born from a lack of data, but from institutional silos. Information on the hijackers' presence existed in one building, while the power to arrest them sat in another. The American response began on October 7, 2001, with an invasion of Afghanistan aimed at destroying al-Qaeda's infrastructure and removing the Taliban from power. Domestically, the government underwent a massive restructuring. The Department of Homeland Security was created, the USA Patriot Act expanded surveillance authority, and the NSA dramatically increased its domestic data collection. In March 2003, the United States invaded Iraq, asserting incorrectly that the country possessed weapons of mass destruction. The war toppled Saddam Hussein, but it also triggered years of sectarian violence and the rise of ISIS. The manhunt for the primary architect continued for nearly a decade. On May 2, 2011, U.S. Navy SEALs raided a compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, and killed Osama bin Laden. While the Iraq War had no connection to the September 11th attacks, It was launched in the emotional and political atmosphere the tragedy created. The 2-decade military presence in Afghanistan ended in August 2021. As the United States withdrew, the Taliban retook the country within days. The war cost the United States an estimated $8 trillion and the lives of 2,461 military personnel. After 20 years, the country was once again governed by the same movement that had originally harbored the planners of the attack. The geopolitical shifts of the last 20 years often obscure the individual nature of the loss. Among the dead was a 2-year-old girl on Flight 175, flying to Disneyland, and an 85-year-old man on Flight 11, traveling to his stepson's wedding. Their names are permanently inscribed on the bronze walls of the reflecting pools that rest in the footprints of the Twin Towers in Lower Manhattan. While the global response rewrote the maps and policies of the 21st century, the true indelible legacy of September 11th remains the profound human void it left behind.